Hi guys, how are you doing today? Welcome back to Random Lifestyle Vlog. So today we're going to be testing and reviewing this Natasha Denona Love Face palette. And this is how the palette looks inside. It's so reflective that you can see the camera in it. It's pretty, but you can already see my fingerprints all over it, and it's only going to be worse. So as much as I really like the design of it, it's not very functional. It's just going to look messy all the time. But it is what it is. Not the packaging is important, right? And this is the palette inside. So this is the newest palette released from Natasha Denona. It's obviously, as you can probably guess easily, inspired by Valentine's Day. It's not the first time she's done something like that. She definitely had some Valentine's Day releases before. I think it's probably the 4th year in a row that she's done that. I only have one of her like Valentine releases. This is the Mini Love palette. She had a Mini Crush, I think it was Mini Crush palette last year. And also there was like a Midi Love palette, like all pinks and kind of like reds, but mostly pinks. I honestly didn't really feel that tempted to buy them all. There's only so many kind of like pink shaded palettes that I can have. But this one, I was actually really interested how this one is going to work. Some time ago, Natasha released 2 palettes in a very similar format, like, you know, 5 eyeshadows and like some cheek products over here. And even though I didn't buy them, I kind of like regretted it. Like people were raving about them, people were like really in love with them. So I thought, you know what? Since there's this new release now, I'm just going to grab it and test it. So first of all, let's compare the shades in these 2 palettes, and as you can see, they are actually quite different. The only shade that seems quite similar is the darkest one, the one in the middle here and here. This one seems quite similar, but we're going to swatch both of these palettes and see. So there you go, like a different angle. Definitely that middle shade seems quite similar. Other than that, the mini palette has 3 shimmers and 2 mattes, whereas the face palette, this one over here, has 4 mattes and just 1 kind of shimmery shade. So let's do the swatches now. I'm going to swatch this palette first, and I'm going to swatch this palette as well so that you can see how different or similar these are. So we're starting with Esme. This is Raspberry Pink in Creamy Matte. There you go. Next up we have Juliet. This is Baby Pink, and this is Your Classic Matte, and you can see a little bit, but it's not that visible on my skin tone, so this is going to be probably like a base shade for me. Then we have Affinity Silver Rose, which is glitter metallic. This one over here, this one is actually really pretty. And then we have Giddy, which is Dusty Rose in Creamy Matte. So these are the 4 lighter shades. Now I'm going to swatch the dark one. So this is Aiko, and this one is in Creamy Matte. So looking at the swatches here, I have to admit I'm not massively impressed. They don't really seem that pigmented. They seem slightly patchy. Obviously this is not going to show us like 100% how these are going to work on my eyelids, but still, I mean, I've seen better, right? So there you go. These are all the swatches. As you can see, the first 5 shades up to this one here are the new Love Face palette, and then the 5 shades over here, and these are the Mini Love palette. As you can see, they're definitely not identical, so if you're wondering whether this palette is similar to the Love Face palette, then the short answer will be like, well, not really. They are quite different. They're both like pink eyeshadow palettes, 5-pan eyeshadow palettes, but they are quite different. Okay, so let's swatch the blush and the highlighter now. So we have Cream Blush. Ooh, that's actually very creamy. And then we have Dream Glow Highlighter. So there you go, and I'm going to swatch them here. So this is the blush, and this is the highlighter. I don't know, but it does seem to me like this blush is going to work better for people with like lighter skin tones, but obviously we're just going to test it out and see. Okay, so let's test this palette out. I'm not really going to think too much. There are only like 5 shades, so you can't really usually go wrong with them. I'm just going to start applying makeup on my right eye, and obviously I'm just going to finish it off and finish the other eye off camera. Okay, so I'm going to apply this shade over here. This is Juliet over my eyelid. I think this is not really going to be very visible, but let's see. I mean, it actually is quite visible, more than I expected. I expected this to be like pretty much like non-existent on my eyelid, whereas you can actually see that this is actually slightly pink, like this really pale baby pink. Not like extremely pigmented. I'm not really sure how this will work on deeper skin tones, but it's just like barely visible on mine, which is, as I said, a little bit more than I expected, so I'm not going to complain. I'm going to continue with this Esma shade over here. Oh, by the way, if you're interested, I'm just using like this kind of simple double-sided brush. I think this one is from P. Louise. I'm applying this here in my like outer corner. And I'm applying this in my crease as well. So my outer corner and my crease. And this one is actually nicely pigmented. It definitely has quite a lot of payoff here. It applies nicely, it's not patchy, so yeah, that one is nice. So since I definitely want to use every single shade that we have here, I'm going to use this one, Giddy. I'm going to apply this one in my inner corner of my lower lash line, so I'm just going to apply it here. And this one again is quite pigmented, it applies nicely. So yeah, I mean, so far these shades are actually working quite well on my skin tone, and I'm going to apply the darkest shade over here, which is the Ico one, and I'm going to apply this one in my outer corner here. I'm just going to build up on this like pink, and I'm also going to finish off my lower lash line, like the outer part of it, with this shade as well. So it seems like these shades work much better on my eyelids than the swatch. Like the swatches were not super impressive. I'm kind of used to Natasha Denona swatches to be like really like long and very pigmented. These, they didn't really show like that, but they actually work really nicely on the eyelids. So, and this is the most important thing, right? So so far I don't really have reasons to complain when it comes to the quality. The shades actually work together really nicely as well, so that all looks good. Okay, so let's test the shimmery shade, this one over here. This is Affinity. I'm just going to apply this one on my finger, and I'm just going to dab it here on my eyelid, into my eyelid. Okay, so I really like the look of it. There is a highlighter here. Okay, so I actually really like the look of it. I feel tempted though to use a bit of that highlighter in my inner corner. We'll see how that will go together, or whether it will go together. So I'm just using like a tiny kind of like a dense brush, and I'm just going to apply this in my inner corner. And let's just apply some on my brow bone as well, just to see. This highlighter, let me tell you, it's actually very pigmented, so it definitely needs some like blending out, but yeah, does it go together? I think it does go together nicely, so yeah. Okay, so let me finish my eye makeup off camera and I'll be back, and we're going to test the blush. Okay, so this is my finished eye look. Let's try and apply some of that blush. I'm going to use this dense brush, but like a small one, so that I don't really over apply it. I'm just going to apply a little bit of that, and then I'm obviously going to try and blend it out. So it definitely seems quite pale on my skin. I'm not really sure that this is going to be the most flattering color for me, and I can't really see this shade being used by people with like deeper skin tones. I think it would just not really look very flattering. Yeah, definitely not the greatest look in my opinion. It does give me this kind of like a baby pink shade on my cheeks, and unless that's something you definitely want to go for, I don't know. I don't really find it that amazing. I'm just going to try and build up the shade a little bit just to see what happens. Not too sure, to be honest. I don't think I love it. I'm just going to apply this on my other cheek as well, but I just don't really see myself using this blush that often, to be honest. So that's a little bit of a problem. Obviously, whether I like something or not, this is just like my problem, like nobody really cares. But the thing is, it does seem like this shade is going to be too light for people with deeper skin tones. I definitely feel like it's a little bit too light for me, which maybe is for the best, because as I said, I don't really like this color like in general that much on me. It's very kind of like cool toned, and I don't I don't really think this is going to be that flattering on most people. And I also think the whole idea of the eyeshadow and cheek palette in one kind of doesn't really give you much choice, you know. You are just stuck with this palette, and you might not like the cheek products, but you might like the eyeshadows, and then you still have to like have them both, you know what I mean? I mean, in previous years, Natasha Denona released those like mini palettes, and then she released like these cheek and like cheek duos, and I think that was a brilliant idea, because there is a chance that you will like one and dislike the other. So yeah, let's try this highlighter now. I'm just going to try it out on my cheekbones here, and that actually looks alright. That looks quite pretty. I kind of was afraid that this was going to be a little bit like too golden, like a yellow gold, but it's not. It's actually really nice, and it's not like extremely pigmented. It is quite shiny, I'm not going to lie, but nothing I couldn't live with. So all in all, I feel like the only thing I don't like about this palette is this cream blush. It's just not really my thing, and also I think it's slightly too light for my skin tone. The eyeshadows are actually really pretty. Of course, with those like 5-pan eyeshadow palettes, you have like limited options. You can only get so creative. In most cases, your looks will be quite similar, especially considering the fact that we have only one shimmer, and all the eyeshadows here are in a very kind of similar shade, so there's only so much you can do with that. So what are my final thoughts? I'm not really sure, you know. These eyeshadows are really pretty. I like the look that I created, but I'm not really sure whether this palette is actually worth the money. I know for a fact that I'm not going to be able to use this blush, so I feel it will make much more sense to have this eyeshadow palette separately. Then I could just buy it for like a fraction of this price, and that would just make so much sense. Is it worth the money? In my personal opinion, not really, unless you are a massive Natasha Denona fan, or unless this is like perfect for your needs and you kind of really want it, then sure, go ahead and buy it. But I don't necessarily think that this is the best thing you should invest your money in. So the quality is good, but it's just good. It's not amazing, and I kind of expected amazing from Natasha Denona, because that's what I've been used to. Natasha Denona eyeshadow palettes are of amazing quality. This one is just good. It just didn't disappoint, but it didn't really wow me either. So all in all, these are my thoughts about this Natasha Denona Love Face palette. What do you guys think? Have you tested it out? Are you thinking of buying it? Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Thank you very much for watching. For more makeup related content, check those videos over here. I'm going to see you very soon. Take care. Bye.